Good afternoon. Today is the 7th of May and it's time for a video that I wanted to make under slightly different circumstances. Obviously it's still a very vague vlog and we still will be talking about things in a rambling and generally disconnected manner, and some of you might not find it particularly interesting, but some of you do, and that's very good, particularly those who are on the Set Toledo membership tier and above for the channel, in which case you get to actually see these videos on the day that they're recorded or shortly after. But we're going to be talking today about what I actually do when I source a car for a client. Now, some people are very much aware of what I actually do professionally, and you know, some of you this might be exceptionally boring, but for the rest of you, some of you probably aren't even actually aware that the channel isn't like other channels, in that the end product that you're seeing now, which is the videos that come out, they're not actually the main reason why I started the channel, and they continue not to be the main reason for the channel's existence. Now obviously what eventually happened after I started the channel in 2018 was that things went in a slightly different direction, and now, you know, the sort of videos that you see on them aren't particularly related in many cases to what I do professionally. And that's okay, I don't mind particularly. A lot of you really enjoy them, but Mr. Quirk from the Planet Auto channel and I recently discussed this, and the fact is that they were originally designed to be representations of the sort of thing that I look for when looking at a car for a client. There's actually some videos that have helped me to source cars for clients, because I have a video review of a particular car that I've done myself, and I can say to them, this is what the car's actually like. You know, this is what it's like. These are the things that we now need to be aware of. You know, this is how much space it has in it. These are the features that come with different trim levels, and you know, this is the way that it looks. Video is different from still photographs in that way. But sort of what happened is that because I'm an enthusiast myself, it developed very quickly from a channel that was supposed to, you know, point people towards the service that I offer, to a more general enthusiast channel, more along the lines of many others that you see, like Furious Driving, like Hubnut, to a certain extent like other sort of smaller channels that are out there that deal with you know, older cars as well. So that is the sort of main audience that I have, but generally there are people on there sometimes who still kind of look at the reviews because they're looking at buying a certain type of car. I had a comment today about lots of calls to see that I did on No Budget Reviews quite recently, and you know, obviously they are there to help people out, but they're also there to sort of demonstrate, hopefully, that I have some kind of knowledge about things. I mean, some people keep telling me that I don't, and I'm an idiot, and you know, that I should rename my channel and that I don't know anything, which both of which things I'm afraid I'm not going to ignore, and instead we'll talk about the sort of process that I actually use to find cars for people. I haven't done this for some time. There are other videos that show this, but unlike number 27, which I watched recently, where he went through a sort of typical day of kind of filming, as you know, life as someone who has an automotive YouTube channel, I can't really do the same for sourcing a car for a client, because I can't show you the cars we're looking at. I can't show you footage of the dealerships or people's houses that we visit. It's not really possible. It would be very much a video where I'd just be sitting in the car and just explaining, describing what had happened. And I thought, well, you know, maybe that is something I can do, particularly because I had a job I was going to do actually today, and it's been postponed because in the area where my client lives, the sort of car that he's looking for is not really possible within the budget that but he has. Now, examples of the car do exist elsewhere, and you know, if we were to go sort of 100 miles to get this type of car, then we could do it, but that just puts the cost up very, very much. And you know, I'm not one to sort of try to overcharge people for the work that I do. I'd like to actually produce the best value possible. And if that means waiting a bit for either the prices to soften of second-hand cars or for some more to come into the area, then that's what we decided we're going to do. So the first thing I've done, I mean, I can talk about the job I've done, is identifying what the client's actually looking for. And that sounds really obvious, but it can take a while. Some people, they're very, very clear about what they're looking for. I did a job a few years ago when one of my clients only wanted a 2013 to 14 Fiesta Mark 7 1.25 Zetec 5-door in blue. That's all that they actually wanted, and that's what we got. We actually saw 4 different cars that were identical in that way. The only thing that varied was the shade of some of them was different type of blue from the others, but apart from that they were identical. But it's really funny the variations in them. But sometimes people don't really know what they want at all. I've had several people say, I've honestly no idea what I want. So I will then try to match what they say, how much money they say they've got, whether they need 3 or 5 doors, what sort of engine that they need. Very, very rarely do I source split and fuel cars for clients anymore. I have done it way years ago before the channel started, but I just don't do it anymore for obvious reasons, particularly as most of my clients live in London, so they don't really want that sort of thing anyway. So it's up to me then to sort of point them in the right direction and have a look and see what parameters they have and what budget they have and what sort of thing we can be looking at. I don't normally source cars of over 100,000 miles on the clock. Some of you might have different sort of ideas about that, whether that's a good thing or not. I just don't do it. I also don't source cars that have any form of category rating for clients. I know that Savage Rebuilds UK and other channels do work on them, and they can make some excellent, you know, value cars that if someone knows what they're doing, and then you go and your eyes open, they can be great. But generally, the sort of person I'm doing their job for doesn't really want that kind of thing, and I understand that. So once you've identified a budget and the kind of things that are available, it's a question of looking at through some normal platforms. The ones I use most are eBay and Auto Trader. I don't find that things like Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace produce particularly good cars. Once we've narrowed something down, I've sent over maybe 5 suggestions over to the client, and they've maybe narrowed it down to maybe about 3 or 4. Normally I will then contact the people selling them. They can be dealers, private individuals, or whoever it is, and I look through the MOT histories online, look through the descriptions a bit more carefully, see about the service history, see about, you know, failure or advisory shoots and MOTs, ask some questions about the car if there's anything I'm not sure about, and then we make some appointments and do test drives. And after we've done the test drives, you know, looking through the paperwork, looking, you know, to see if there's anything missing off the car, if you know the car drives okay. Sometimes I've walked away from cars not even driving them because they've just not been right, or just been hopeless. I take my clients away generally to, I don't know, a coffee shop or something. I like to take people out of the environment where they've been, so they don't feel pressured, particularly to buy the car we've ended up at, or any of the others. The dealer would prefer you not to do that. They'd prefer you to just want to do the deal straight away. But I like to look through what it is that we've seen, and for someone to be able to make a decision in a relaxed manner. I had to do this actually with the last car I sourced because my client wasn't really sure between 2 of them. She had to take a sort of long time to decide, and that's fine. That's really what you should do if you're spending quite a lot of money. And you know, the average budget I work with is something like £2,000 to £10,000, and even £2,000 is a lot of money some people are spending on their car. I have worked with less. I think the cheapest car I sourced was about 800. The most expensive one was north of 20, I think it was. but the process is very similar for whatever you're looking at. And hopefully then, we can bring up, or in some cases, if the ditch is really close, we can just walk over there and we can do a deal if the client likes what they've seen. Sometimes they want to see more cars, and a couple of occasions they said, well, I want to spend more money on the car, but this has been a very useful exercise, but I'd rather a bit more money. I think we can get possibly a better choice of car, and let's look at some more, which is a bit of a waste in terms of the work we've already done, but if that's what someone wants to do, they have their eyes open initially, that's what I do. These days I'm very, very insistent with a client that they tell me what their absolute maximum budget is, just so it saves a lot of time if they're particularly looking for a particularly nice car, or if they really want something very specific. But it can be very helpful just to know that, and so some people want to buy the best car that they can afford, and that does help. It saves me a lot of time. My lady wife's always very big on that. She always reminds me of those instances when I've got somebody who probably might have a little bit more and then get a better car, particularly at the moment where the price is so high, but they haven't actually said, so it's just a question of teasing that out sometimes. But anyway, I think that's quite enough for this very vague vlog. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below. I hope that answers some of the questions that I sometimes get about what my job is, what actually the reason for channel starting was, and actually the fact that, I like to think that I have experience. I've done this for over 5 years now, but I do have some experience of it, and that at least sometimes know what I'm talking about. Yes, thank you ever so much indeed for bearing with me through all these years of all these videos, some of them good, some of them bad, and some of them very fun indeed.